I do feel that we will be a little bit rushed to get all this training in an hour. And so I really encourage you to attend any of the other training sessions that we will be offering. And I also encourage you to review our videos that we will be sharing on our time tracking website and our job aids. And so I hope that those will sort of help you when this system goes live as you're going through and entering time and managing absence for employees. Okay, so first we're going to talk about major changes, okay, that we expect to see and experience with this transition. We're going to talk about terminology changes, resources, and then I'll do a demonstration of what the experience will be as a supervisor in Workday. Okay, so major changes. So number one, obviously, it's going to be a completely new visual experience for us all. Chronos tends to be, for some people, very old school. And so I hope that this new this transition into Workday will give you a little more of an upgraded experience. So we do expect that. One major and I think very good change is that any changes that we make in Workday time tracking will be effective immediately. And so currently what we experience is that if you let us know, hey, there's, for example, a student who is reporting to so-and-so, but they should be reporting to me, it does take 24 hours approximately for Kronos to update with that information. With Workday, it's going to be, as soon as we make the update, you're going to see it on your end. So I think that's a very, very good change. We are going to notice that our work week or our time card is going to be displayed on a work week basis instead of a pay period basis. So currently in Kronos, when you log on, you are able to see the entire pay period. That's going to change. You're no longer going to experience the entire pay period. You're going to see 1 week at a time. Okay, and I'll demonstrate that a little later. Okay, another big change that we have is that with absence and for time cards, we're now going to have an approval process. What that means is that currently, for example, if an employee or a student approves their time card, you don't necessarily get a notification. You don't necessarily get pings to let you know that they have submitted their time card. With Workday time tracking, we will see that, and you will be able to approve time cards individually per employee or per student, or you'll be able to do it in a bulk. Okay, so we'll talk about that. And then lastly, mobile accessibility. So currently we already have Workday as an option on your mobile device. But moving forward, we will advertise and recommend if you wish to access Workday via a mobile device, you're able to do that if you wish to do that. Okay. Any questions or concerns on these major changes? And please feel free to add anything on the chat or ask away as we're going along in the presentation. We don't necessarily have to wait till the end to ask.
Stephanie does have a question she typed in. She wants to know if we can turn off those notifications for the approval process change.
Absolutely, we can. So currently we allow you're allowed under your preferences in Workday to turn them off. And that's a great point, Stephanie. So for time tracking, it was decided consortially across the Claremont that we're going to reset. So anyone that has them turned off will have them on, but can go back on and turn them off if they want to. So that's an option that will be available. We are recommending, however, that if you are continuously monitoring your email, that you maybe dedicate a folder in your inbox or in your Outlook and move all of the emails into that folder, and you can check them periodically so that they don't bombard your inbox with all these automated messages. But we do recommend to leave them on just so that you can periodically log them on. Or on contrary, it's probably even better to just log on to Workday daily if not multiple times a day, at least once a day to monitor, right, anything that comes into your inbox. And we'll talk about that a little bit and how that's going to look moving forward. Good question, Stephanie. Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, perfect. And so just very quickly, some terminology changes, and we will post these on our website very soon, along with image icons and what those mean in Workday time tracking. So some of the major changes that you'll notice is that currently in Kronos, time off really is called time off. But in Workday, it's also going to be referred to as absence. So whenever you see absence, it means technically time off. And it could also mean leave of absence, right? So Workday views anything that's time off or absence related as absence, okay? One major change that we will see as supervisors is that currently in Kronos, what we know as historical corrections will be labeled as retro in Workday. So any retroactive changes would mean any historical correction. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Resources, again, we have our time tracking website that we've shared with you all. We are continuously updating it with job aids and videos, both in English and in Spanish, with frequently asked questions that you can go over to hopefully answer your most popular questions. And if you don't see them on there, you're more than welcome to reach out and ask our team. We will keep tab on those questions that come in so that if we see a question that keeps coming up, we include it in our FAQ. And then also our Workday resources tab within Workday, we're going to make all of the job aids and videos available to you. And then obviously you have your supervisor as support and your HR team. And then we have a tenant for Workday. So it's similar to what you currently experience when you go into production, but this is a mirror image of that tenant, and it was set up with Workday time tracking, and we welcome you to log on and play around and get familiar with the time tracking system. So I'll be sharing this link with everyone after our meeting today. And again, you're welcome to log on now. Keep in mind that this testing site was last refreshed on 8/31. So any new hires that we've had since 8/31, any changes that we've experienced, whether it's on your job or your home or personal information changes, just know that those are outdated in that system because it's not our system of record. It's just for testing purposes. So I'll be sharing the link and you're welcome to log on and try it out, okay? All right, so we will start with our demonstration, which is, I think, gonna be what is the best part of the training here. All right, so I am logged on as Michelle Test in the system, okay? Michelle Test oversees 2 hourly employees and she oversees 1 exempt employee. She's a director. And so right away under awaiting action in my inbox, I can see that there is a time entry for Erica, which means that this is a time card that was submitted for my approval. And I see an absence request for Erica. This means that Erica is asking me for time off, okay? If I click on it, I'll be able to see more details. Another thing that I wanted to point out is on the right over here, I have my top applications. So I have absence. This absence application is for my personal absence management. So if I want to request the time off, a vacation day, a sick day, if I need to request jury duty, etc., this application is meant for my personal absence needs. Time and absence is for management of my team's time and absence, okay? And we'll be going over this application shortly as well. All right, so we're gonna start with absence. So if I click on the absence request from Erica. It's going to take me to review the request. So I can see right away the time or the dates that Erica is requesting off. So she wants the first day from 12/9 to last day 12/9. So she's technically only requesting 1 day for 8 hours of vacation. Okay, and we see that down here as well. If she, for instance, was asking for a full week, I would see 12/9 to 12/15 or whatever the date may be. Okay. If she wanted to ask for different kinds of time off, it would be under request details. I would see the different requests. So I would see jury duty for type, I would see sick for type, et cetera, et cetera. I can do 3 things with this request. I can approve it, I can send it back to Erica, or if I click this icon here, I can deny it. The cancel is not necessarily to cancel her request, it's just to cancel my activity in this inbox item, okay? So approve, send back, and deny. If I approve it, we're good. She gets a notification letting her know I approved it, all is good. If I send it back, then I'm asking her to make a change. Either I can't approve it because she needs to change the date, or she needs to, I don't know, can only take half a day off, for example, things like that. So this will send it back to her Workday inbox for her to make a change and resubmit it. And then the deny will just deny it. You'll get an email that says it's denied. I have to enter a comment and tell her why I'm denying it. And there's that, okay? If I want to confirm that she has the balance necessary for this request, and keep in mind that when an employee is submitting a request, if they don't have the available balance, the system won't let them submit it. So just by you getting this in your inbox means that they have the time available. And then I can see her balances. So there's all these different sorts of information. So it tells me the accrued to date. And then here towards the right, I can see the ending period balance. So this is the balance that she has currently as of this pay period that she's requesting. Any questions so far?
I have a question. So currently, if you scroll up, it says the total is 8 hours. So I was just curious because currently, when they submit for time off, they have to put the daily amount, which would be 8. Otherwise, if they put like the total amount, then it counts it per day, right? So would this be the same, or is this now total number of hours?
So the system automatically calculates the total based on the days that they select and the number that they enter. So that's a good point. I can demonstrate that very quickly. So we're going to go to that time and absence here, the application. So say I wanted to just confirm or update an absence request. So you're going to see different sorts of reports on the left, right? And then you're going to see review and time approval. So this is going to be your go-to task to review time and review approvals for both time entry and for absence. So here I can select absence, enter absence. I'm going to select the worker, so I can go my team, and I'm going to say Erica, click OK. So this is the absence calendar for Erica. Okay, so then I'm going to scroll down, and then I think the request was for December right here. So I can select it and I can see it, right? But I can't make any changes because it's already been submitted. But let's say that you needed to submit time off for Erica. You would select the day that you're requesting the time off for, click request absence, select the type. So we're going to do vacation. Okay. The system automatically populates their position. Next. And then here is where, right, that number of hours is calculating. So we see the quantity per day, it's automatically telling me 8 hours. But if I needed to edit the quantity, I could do that here. That's optional. If she was, say, requesting, let's change this from the 5th. See how it automatically calculated 32? So the system already knows that for Monday through Friday, the quantity per day is going to be automatically updated with 8. However, Saturday and Sunday, so if we change it to Sunday, for example, it's going to default to 0. Because typically folks, the majority of folks don't work Saturday or Sunday, so we default it to 0, but you can edit that quantity here and enter 8. Because it tells you quantity per day, right? We enter 8. So now it's giving me an alert, an error. We click on it, it says time off request exceeds the current balance. So I am not able to submit this for Erica because she doesn't have enough accrual balance available in her bank. So I'm not able to submit it. Okay. In that instance, and Hortensia, correct me if I'm wrong on this, you would use the unpaid. Let me go back here.
The supervisor would probably, if they approve them to be off, they would use the excused unpaid code. Now,
this one here, unpaid time off, right?
Yeah.
Is that the wrong? Okay. Yep. So we would do this one, and then you would again just do the 8 hours and submit. Okay. When an employee submits this request, because they're doing it as an employee, it's going to come to you for approval. And mind you, the employee can't request this type of time off. Only you can enter it for them. But when you as a supervisor go in and enter time for an employee, it's going to be automatically approved. It doesn't go to your supervisor for approval. It's automatic. You as the manager have the ability to enter absence for your employee.
Okay, sorry.
Okay.
And just to confirm, I'm so sorry. Just to confirm.
No, that's okay.
If the employee accidentally selects through the weekend, then it automatically zeroes out the weekend. So I would just have to edit if I have a weekend employee, right?
I was just going to tell you that. Correct.
Perfect. Okay, sounds good.
We do have another question, and it's let's see, if we request time off, do we need to include backup or attachments like a doctor's note, jury duty summons, etc.?
That's a great question. Yes, you would. So it depends on the type of time off that you're requesting. Vacation time, sick time, not necessarily. Unless your sick time exceeds 3 days, then we do recommend that you include a doctor's note. But for example, for jury duty, if I try to submit this time off, I think should require, oh, it didn't. I was hoping that it would require a document, but if it doesn't, what you do is when you receive the request and you don't see an attachment included for jury duty, for example, then you can send it back to the employee and say, hey, you didn't include your documentation, please include it. And so the employee has this select file option here where they can include an image. If they're doing it from their phone, they can just take a photo of it and include the photo, or they can scan it and include a PDF document here.
I want to kind of clarify the employee will get a summons saying that they need to show up on a certain day, but we also have where some employees don't have to show up even though they get a summons. You know how you call the court the night before, and then it tells you if your group has been selected for jury duty or not. In the event that that person does take the jury duty day or days, ask them to provide the document, not the summons, but the document that shows proof that they were in the court that day or those days. Okay? And that will be after the fact. But you are, as a supervisor, required to ask them to provide you that proof that they did attend, because anybody can get a summons, but not necessarily have to attend. Okay?
Thank you, Cynthia, for the clarification. Okay. So you see, I entered the jury duty for Erica here, and it was automatically approved. Whereas this request that she submitted that's sitting in my inbox, because I haven't approved it, it's showing in gray and it says submitted. Okay. So green means it's approved. Gray means it's pending approval. Okay. So I'm going to go back. I think one of the cool features that Workday provides is a calendar for supervisors where they can see all of the time off for their employees. So there is this time off and leave calendar option available under your time and absence application. When we click on it, it gives us the absence or time off request for my employees. So here I see that Brady's taking all this time off in November, and then I'm going to navigate here to December. So Erica is requesting the 9th off, and I just want to make sure that there's no one else off on that day. So by going to this calendar, I can confirm and review my team's absence. Okay. Any questions on that?
Our friend, Miss Stephanie, has another question. And she's saying, thank you, cool feature. Can the calendar sync with our Outlook calendar?
That's a great question.
And I'm sorry, Stephanie,
No.
no issue. We want those questions coming. So don't say sorry.
Don't hold back. Unfortunately, we cannot. And the reason is because we share one Workday system with all of the Claremont colleges, unfortunately, we're not able to sync our Outlook to this calendar because we each have different instances of Outlook, but we have one Workday system. So we would need to each have individual Workday systems in order for us to be able to sync our Outlook into it, unfortunately. But that's a great question. It would be great for recruiting. I can tell you that much if we could do that. Okay, so any questions on absence and how to approve? So I'm going to go ahead here and I'm going to approve. Actually, I'm going to send it back. I'm going to tell Erica, sorry, Erica, right? And I want to provide as much information on this as possible so this is going to be a communication method between Erica and I. Now, if there's additional questions, probably having a conversation is more suitable, but this at least will let her know why I initially sent it back to her. I need you present in the morning. You may take the afternoon off. I'm going to send it back to her. And there's my message, and I'm going to click submit. So now, if I log on as Erica, in my Workday inbox, I can see my absence request. Okay. If I click on it, it gives me the option to make a change to the date, to make a change to the amount of time. And then I can see, right, that I made that based on my manager's, my supervisor's message. And then I click submit and send it back to my manager for approval. Notice, however, that when you are requesting, say, 2, 3, 4 hours of a day, not necessarily the entire day, the system doesn't ask you the specific times that you want off. Okay. So you're going to get requests from your employees for 2 hours, but unless they enter a comment and tell you what hours specifically they're requesting, you're not going to know what those hours are. So that's a great example of where you want to send it back to your employee and ask, can you please confirm what time you are taking off, whether it's early or come in late, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, and that won't necessarily mean that they have to make a change to their initial request. Maybe they just need to add a comment and let you know what that time is. Okay, so I'll go ahead and submit. Perfect. So now I'll go back in as a Michelle. And we now have the request. It's back in my inbox. Okay, perfect. I want that out of my inbox. I am going to 4 days off, and I'm going to approve it. Okay. So now we'll talk about time entry. So how to review and approve time for employees. So there are two different ways that you can approve time and review time cards. You can do it individually as time cards are submitted. Now, if you only have, say, a handful, maybe 3 or 4 employees that you supervise, that's great. You'll have 4 or 5 inbox items to review. However, if you supervise students, for example, you have, I know Lexi in Portland, you probably have 10, 15 of them. Stephanie, you have 30. That could be very time consuming. So the second method is to review and approve in a bulk, okay? So first, if you're gonna do individual reviews, you click on the inbox item, and then the system tells you, okay, so Erica worked Monday, 8 hours, Tuesday, 8 hours, Wednesday, 6.5 hours. Wait, but she was supposed to get paid for 8 hours, right? Because we did 2 hours of paid release, remember, last Wednesday? Okay, so that is something that we need to change. And as a reminder, paid release is only able to be entered by supervisors. So this isn't something that we would ask our employee to update. We would have to make that update for them. And we'll talk about how to do that in a bit. And then we see the holidays, right? Populating here. Perfect. Entries to approve. These are more specific to the ins and the outs. So rather than giving us the daily totals, this is giving us shifts, right? So it's telling us they clocked in at 8, they clocked out at 12, the number of hours, and the reason that they clocked out. So whether it was for lunch, etc. These are all out. So some of these should probably be meal. However, it really doesn't affect the calculation of hours. It's just more for reporting purposes, the reason that they clocked out. All right, so you could go through this if you wanted to, more specific, or you can close it off. And then the same here, it's just all current time. It's just more details, right? You can even click on the magnifying glass to see the details more specifically. Here, you can look at the history and you can see a track record of what has happened with this entry. So we see that Michelle, I entered it, right, as the employee. Erica submitted it. Michelle is awaiting action because it's in her inbox for approval. Okay, so we're going to go back here, go back to the time entry. Screen. I didn't like that I clicked on it. There it is. Okay. So here at the top, it tells you the total number of hours, and then it breaks it down by regular, overtime, double time, pay time off, and then missed meal penalty and callback minimum, which are 0. So I can, again, approve, send back, or deny, right? I approve, all is good. I send back, that means this is going to go back to the employee's inbox for them to make a change. And if I deny, it just means I denied it, but that does still allow the employee to go back to their time card and resubmit it. So it doesn't stop them from being able to resubmit their time card. It just doesn't go to their inbox. Okay. We don't recommend that you deny a time card. We recommend that you send it back to them and have them make adjustments as needed. Okay. So that's the individual way of approving a time card. If you are interested in doing bulk reviews and approvals, which we highly recommend, you're going to go to your handy dandy time and absence application. We're going to click review time and approval. That's what we want to do. Okay. Here you have some tasks that you can do. You can enter time for a worker. So in this example, I would use this, right? Because I noticed that Erica was missing the 2 hours, right? For the 23rd. So I'm going to go into her time card, and here is the time card for Erica. Okay. So remember, it's now changing from 2-week period to a 1-week period. Not a 1-week period, but visually you can only see 1 week at a time. So it's from the beginning of the work week, which is Saturday, to the end of the work week, which is Friday. Okay, and I can see the different time entries for Erica. So she worked from 8 to 12 for 4 hours, and then she worked from 12:30 to 4:30 for 4 hours, et cetera, et cetera. So for the up a little bit, Wednesday, 11/23, I'm going to click on, and you can really click on the top part here. It's really hard to see, but this is basically a header up here, okay? Or you can, if you're more comfortable, you can even scroll down to the time and then click on a block. Here, I'm going to tell the system, I want to, under absence, you're going to see paid release time. Under time entry codes, you have the option to enter callback, makeup time, or work hours. Okay. So absence, we want to add paid release time, and we want to pay her 2 hours of paid release time. We're going to click OK. So now you see the 2 hours paid release time. But what you see how these say submitted and this does not say submitted? That's because the employee didn't submit it. So it's going to show as not submitted. Okay. So we're good there. We're going to leave it as is. You can either review it here and submit it for the employee. I would recommend to have the employee submit it themselves if you really wanted to, but you have that option. Okay, so we're going to go back and click on Pitzer College to go back to our home screen. I want to go back here to time and absence. I've corrected her time card. So now we're going to go back up here, review time and approvals. At the bottom, if you scroll all the way down, you're going to find this in progress section. Under that, you have review and approve. Okay, now notice that all of this shows 0, 0, 2, 0 for different types of statuses for time cards. But also notice that this is for the week of November 19th to December 2nd. Okay, so I have 2 workers with unsubmitted time. So I want to see who those are. I'm going to click review time and approve. I'm going to select a date. When you select a date, you want to select a date that falls within the pay period that you're approving. So if I was approving a pay period that happened, I don't know, let's say it was Monday the 21st, and I am approving pay period from the 5th to the 18th, I would select any date from the 5th to the 18th so that the system could show me those time cards. Okay? I'm going to leave it as the 29th. I want to only review my direct report. What this does is it, in the next screen, it's only going to show me my direct report. If I am a timekeeper and I assist someone with reviewing and approving time cards, for example, I want to unselect this. And then I can I can search by all of my workers or my team only, all workers. So see if I go, oops, workers by manager, I think it's what it, sorry. Oh, she's not a timekeeper, that's why. So if I were a timekeeper, I would see additional employees down here. So my list would be longer, okay? But I want to only see my direct reports. I want to see all of my workers. I'm not going to do anything with employee type. I'm not going to do anything with period schedule because I'm already entering the date here. And then I want to see my hourly employees. I'm going to click OK. So here now, the system is telling me there are 2 workers with unsubmitted time. There's 1 worker with alert. Okay. And here I can see that Brady Test has unsubmitted time. Erica Test has unsubmitted time. So the unsubmitted time for Erica is those 2 hours that I just submitted for her as paid release. But the other hours, the other 63 hours are already submitted. Okay. And then it gives you a breakdown of the types of hours for the employee. So here I can see, okay, there's, 54 regular hours, 1.5 overtime hours, 1 missed meal penalty, etc. If I want to take a deeper look into someone's hours, I click their name. And then here, go out a little bit. It tells me week 1 hours, week 2, the period totals, and then the details down here. Okay. Notice that for Brady, I have a reason here that says hours must be submitted before they can be approved. Brady hasn't submitted his hours, so I cannot approve his hours until he submits them first. Okay. Any questions so far? I'm going to take a break there.
Lexi had a question, but I'm pretty sure you covered it for her. Lexi, are you okay with it? You were asking about the viewing the hours in details. Okay, she responded yes.
Okay, perfect.
I have a question.
I have a question, Crystal.
Yes.
If Brady does not submit his hours, what happens? And you try to reach him and you say, hey, you have to approve your hours and the deadline's coming up. What happens?
They reach out to HR and let us know.
Okay. And then what happens if he doesn't reach out or anything? Does he get paid, or those hours just don't get recorded yet in the pay period when we do our thing on our site?
No, we in HR have the ability to override the approval. Now, Hortensia, please chime in on this piece. If there is enough reason, right, like the employee can't be reached, then we can override that and we can get the employee to be paid. Now, the probability of there being retro changes is probably going to be pretty high. So just keep in mind that when we do that, there's probably going to be corrections that are going to be needed once the employee does answer or connect, and maybe hours were missed, or maybe time off was missed. And so just keep in mind that those retro adjustments would be paid on the following pay period.
Okay.
I have a question, Crystal. So for multiple reasons, I ran into having to add negative vacation hours for staff who, whatever happens, I guess. But would it be the same in this system? Like if I have to remove vacation hours, would I just deduct the amount of hours that need to be removed? No. So
meaning that they requested vacation, but then they decided not to take the day off?
Right.
So we would just go back onto the absence calendar and cancel it. So I can show you what that is really quickly.
Yeah, because currently when you do it with Chronos, it's a lot more difficult to, because you have to retract it, and then the approval for the retraction has to go through, and so on for it just to drop. So that's why we go ahead and we do the -8 hours if they're not going to take it at the last minute.
Mhm.
But with this new system, it's a little different where you can go in like what she's going to demonstrate right now, and we can just cancel it that way.
Mm.
Let me go to the December 9th request here. Oh, jury duty. So if I click on it, I think, no, maybe because it's approved. I don't remember how to do that. I know that we can.
Okay.
I will get back to you on that one. That's a great question. Oh,
Okay.
right here. I'm sorry. I
Uh.
see it. Sorry. So when you click on it, it's this little negative sign. That means you're removing it.
Mm.
You're canceling it, and then you submit it, and that gets rid of the request. There, it's
Okay,
gone.
that's super easy. Okay, perfect. And then the last question I have is, are any, like, will all of the requests that haven't been approved or requests that have been approved for the future, will that roll over with the new system, or do we need to keep track of what's coming through right now?
I would recommend to have employees wait if they haven't requested, to have them wait until we have workday time tracking live for them to submit it. But anything that has been submitted, we are going to bring it over from Chronos, and anything that has been approved, I should say. So if there's requests that are pending approval in Chronos, we won't move those over. We will only move any time off requests that have been approved.
Okay, thank you.
Great question as well. Okay, and then also accruals, right? So any accrual balances, those will also roll over into time tracking. Keep in mind the rollover of accrual balances will happen within the first week of January, and we're doing that purposefully just so that we can ensure that anyone that's taking time off, say the first week or the first couple of days when we come back from break, that those are already in the system. And so those balances, we're going to hold off on updating them until probably, I want to say, the end of the first week of January. Okay, so back to time and absence here. So we're going to go back and review time. So again, review time and approvals. We're going to scroll down, review and approve time. We're going to click OK. So what I'm going to do is I want to bulk approve, right? So I'm going to select all of my employees. Everything looks good. I'm going to approve everything. So I'm going to click approve. So take a look at what the system is telling me. It's telling me that I cannot approve Erica's 2 hours because they have not been submitted by the employee. And I cannot approve Brady's because, again, they haven't been submitted. What I did approve was 8 hours for Brady that he must have submitted at some point, and 63 hours for Erica that were submitted, that were sitting in my inbox. So what I would do as a supervisor then is reach out to both Erica and Brady and have them submit their time card again. Well, Erica submitted again, and Brady would have to submit it because he hasn't even submitted it. Okay. So as a supervisor, I would reach out and have them approve their time and submit their time for me to be able to approve it. Okay. Any questions? If I go back to Erica, I'm going to go back here. You can also go to an employee's time card by typing enter time for worker on your search bar. Enter time for worker, enter their name, and then the date. So this is going to take me directly to Erica's time card. You can do it this way, or you can do it through the application, the time and absence application. So now we see that Erica's time card reflects approved. Okay. If I go back to the 1 week before that, notice that the 2 hours are showing not submitted, so they weren't approved. Okay. And you have the option to submit them on her behalf. And that's only because You're able to do that because the paid release time is a supervisor type of time that I entered. So I'm able to approve it on her behalf, and it's automatically now approved. Okay, any questions so far?
Me,
I
sorry.
No, go ahead.
So currently, if I have to leave a note, I just right click it. How would I leave a note in this system?
When you are entering time, you have a comment box,
Okay.
and you can do that.
Okay.
I
Thank
also
you.
want to talk about, no problem, this meal penalty waiver. So when an employee, as a reminder, employees have to take a lunch break before the 5th hour. If they go, they start their day at 8 a.m. and they start their lunch at 1 p.m., that's going to generate a meal penalty. Okay, they have to take their break 12:59 or before. So should anyone work 6 hours or less, so say they are working from 8 to 2 and they don't want to take a lunch break, as a supervisor, if that's the route that they want to go, you can waive the meal penalty for them. Okay, so for example, say someone works from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. Let's see, what day is this? Not gonna let me. Let's try Sunday. 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. Okay. This is what the time card will look like when the employee submits it. If they let you know, hey, I worked 6 hours today and I chose not to take a lunch break, what you can do as a supervisor is you can come in, select the time block, and waive the meal penalty. Okay.
But I'd like to stress that is only if they work 6 hours.
Mm-hmm.
If they work a full day and they take and they get penalized, which it's really the college that's penalized, you should not go in and waive it just because you want to save that money or that penalty. That's illegal. If they put in 8 hours, 9 hours, 10 hours, and they do have a missed meal because they took a late lunch, they need to be paid for that extra hour. Because if we get audited by the state and they see that we are waiving a lot of missed meal periods because we want to avoid that penalty, we're going to get fined, and big time. So just as a supervisor, letting you know, don't just necessarily go in and waive it. You have to have a reason for it. And this person just worked 6 hours. So lunch was not really necessary in the eyes of California. So they would allow that.
Mm-hmm.
But again, not if it's a full day and they took a late lunch.
Thank you, Hortensia. Yeah.
Oh,
go ahead.
So what happened if they just forgot to punch out the lunch?
Then they need to communicate.
They did take it, but they didn't punch out.
Yeah, they need to let you know, Nico, and then either can they fix it, Crystal? Can they go in there and fix it?
No, because they can only clock in and out. So they would let
Okay.
you or Maggie know, and you would be able to make the update for them.
Yeah, you would override, and then you would fix it.
And this
But
is,
you know how you're talking about the penalty? Let's see that they forgot to punch it out. It passed the 5 hours. So you're talking about the we can, always kind of excuse because we had to pay them.
Yeah, if they forget to do the punch, you find out what time they really punched out. They either they took off for lunch, and if they tell you, oh, I took lunch after 4 hours of working, then you fix it, and there's not going to be a penalty. But if they say I didn't take lunch until 6.5 hours later because I was busy, then you can reprimand them for that, but you have to also record it accurately. So you will say, okay, I'm going to clock you out at yada, yada time, which means you had 6.5 hours, consecutive hours work. You're going to get the penalty, but you can't be doing this anymore. And you can write them up for that. Give them a few verbal warnings, that kind of thing. And then if it becomes a pattern, that's something you need to discuss with HR and just say, hey, I'm seeing that this person keeps, you know, causing this issue for us. And then we'll address it with you guys and with them.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, and just to add to Hortensia's comment, so even if, say, in this example, I updated the worked hours for this employee, and they took a 15-minute break, right, because they were asked to come back to work early. If I, as a supervisor, go in and attempt to waive the meal penalty, even if I select yes, the system is still not going to waive it, because the waiving option or the waiving calculation is going only to take place if it's 6 hours or less. So it's looking at the shift. And if the shift is 6 hours or more, regardless of if you waive it, it's still going to calculate. Okay. Any questions on any of it so far? Okay, I want to really quickly demonstrate what will happen or what is different with student employees, because with work study and non-work study jobs, I want to say, or categorizing jobs, it does change the way work study hours are entered in the system. So I am going to log on as a student employee that has two jobs. They have a job that is non-work study and they have a job that is work study. So when I'm in as James and I am going to enter my time, I am going to see two things that are different. You see this time type select position below? That wasn't there for regular employees like Erica and Brady. They only have worked hours here, okay? That was the automatic default. So what this is trying to tell you is go down here and select your position first, okay? So if I am clocking in time or putting in time for one of my jobs, not 10 p.m., 10 a.m., and I select my resident assistant position, and I go back up here and I look at my options, I have work hours as my option, okay? But if I go down here and I change it to my work study job, which is my student technical support job, look at that. Now I have work study available. So dependent on the position that is selected, the system, the time type will be automatically populated with the appropriate time type. So student technical support is tied to work study. So that's why I see work study. Okay, so I'm going to click work study. If I go back to, let's say, my resident assistant job, and now I have work study, oh, but then I forget to update the time type and I click OK, it's not going to let me. It says the entered information does not meet the restrictions for this field. And so it tells me the time type is erroring out. So I have to go back in and I have to select worked hours. What if, let's say, let me exit out of here. I go in and I forget to go back and select the time type. And I just select my position and I click OK. Guess what? The system is going to take it. Okay. And on top of that, the system is going to calculate the correct hours. So you see on the summary here, it's calculating as regular. And if I go in here and I enter time under my student technical support position, it's then going to calculate as work study. So the time type is not necessary for students to submit their time. However, when the student submits their time card for approval and you are reviewing it, you are going to see select position below instead of the appropriate code, which would be regular or worked hours versus work study. So it's really going to help you as a supervisor if the student does identify the time type when you're reviewing and approving time cards. Okay, so on our job aids and on our training for students, we are really, really highlighting the importance of selecting the time type when they are entering time. Mind you, there's going to be students that are going to forget, and that's completely fine. When you notice that they forget, just remind them, right? Send them a reminder. You can send them the time card back if you wanted to. Won't be necessary, but kind of to get them used to selecting the time type. Our job aids do specify step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and step 5 is go back up to your time type and update it. Unfortunately, the way Workday is set up, we did ask for the position to be first, then the time type, but it wasn't an option, unfortunately. And so we have to work with what we have in this instance. Any questions, concerns?
Well, Stephanie has a question. She said, should all students do this if they are working more than one job, regardless if they have work study or not?
All students should do this, yes, because all students will default to this unpaid position. So this unpaid position is a placeholder so that we can maintain their status active in the system in between jobs and in between semesters, because we don't want students to be completing onboarding every 6 months, right? And so this unpaid default job is meant for that. So it's always going to default to this position. So students always have to select the position, and students should always update the time type. If I try to submit time under this default position, because there is no compensation associated with it, well, I shouldn't have oh, there you go. I am able to save it, but then I get an error that tells me position for time block has 0 pay rate. And I will be able to submit my time card if I have an error. Okay.
So basically, it's very similar to what we do right now. If students do not select a job, it goes to the default, which is the unpaid job, and they don't get paid. And I'm sure a few of you supervisors already experienced that with your students when they say, I didn't get paid. And then you find out that it's because they never selected a job and you had to do historical corrections and so on.
Right. And now as a supervisor, you will be able to see these errors when you're reviewing your employee's time card. So you'll be able to reach out to them and let them know that there are errors on their time card that they need to fix and that they need to submit their time card.
Crystal, is the employee, is the position tied to work study and the student? Like, I guess, how do you designate, is the position like work study or non-work study? Is it based on the student?
It's based on, so when a student submits a request for hire, that request first routes to financial aid to determine if they're work study eligible. If they are, then we hire them using that work study designation, and I can show you very quickly what that looks like in the system. So as a supervisor, you're actually able to tell from the student's record whether or not it's work study or not. So here is the positions, right? So to navigate from position to position, we click on this back and forth arrow, and I can see that James has multiple jobs. So if I click on resident assistant, his job family here is going to tell me, or job profile is going to tell me whether or not it's work study. So here I can see that it's a non-work study job. If I go to the technical support position, then I can see that this is a federal on-campus work study job. Okay, and what this really helps us do, Lexi, is for us and financial aid to work together to ensure that the student earns up to their allotment, works to the allotment, and then we're able to go back in and update this job profile to non-work study once they've hit that maximum allotment. So it's really for just tracking purposes on the financial side. you're able to just differentiate between work study or non-work study, but it's all inclusive within your cost center and your budget already. So just for tracking purposes, this is how we were able to identify work study versus non-work study. Does that answer your question?
Yes, and thank you for letting me know that if they are over their works or if they've finished their work study, that it'll change. So that way,
Yep.
that's another way for me to tell if they've
Yep.
used up their work study. Thank you.
No problem. Okay, I know that we're over time. And if there are any questions, feel free to ask them now. Anyone that needs to hop off, you're welcome to also hop off. I hope that this was informative and helpful. Again, we're going to have the recorded training sessions available for everyone after the meeting. We're going to have job aids. We're going to have videos that hopefully can help you as you learn this new system. Okay. Thank you, everyone.